السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا Muhammad وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. All praise is due to Allah, and may Allah's peace and blessings be upon His final messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as He deserves to be praised, the praiseworthy. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase us in knowledge and to make us of those that act upon their knowledge, and not to make us of those that seek the knowledge without acting on it. The whole point of ilm is amal. The whole point of seeking knowledge is to act. So there is no point for a person to be a jurist, a faqih, who understands the rulings, yet he is the only person that is not doing any sunnah, because he knows that this is sunnah and this is sunnah. Doesn't make any sense. إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاءِ. The scholars are the ones who truly fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. طيب. For revision, let's start some revision. Who can tell me some of the matters that were mentioned last week? What did we talk about last week? Wudu and طيب. Who can tell me what are the pillars of wudu? Yes.
So first is your face, and then your arms, and then your head, and then your feet, and then it has to be continuous, not don't get to this, and then there's something else.
One, two, three, four, five, six. Order. An order. So the order, washing them in that order, as the verse. So if somebody says, where did we get this from? It's from the verse in the Quran. The verse in the Quran, يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة فاغسلوا وجوهكم وأيديكم إلى المرافق. Then, and وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم إلى الكعبين. So the verse of the Quran, this is the verse that contains all the pillars. طيب. The order is also from the verse. The order is also from the verse. طيب. Who can tell me what is the ruling if a person washed all of his limbs only once? Yeah, he washed his face once, his nose once, his mouth once. What is the ruling? Is this permissible? Is this makruh? Huh? Not makruh. It's permissible. It's permissible. طيب. So washing a second time and a third time is considered what? Sunnah. Sunnah. It's of the sunnah of the wudu. Who can tell me another sunnah of the wudu? What if someone washes the left before the right? The left, he washes the legs, the left before the right. We know. Jazakallah khair. I'm saying the ruling here. So you go tell him, okay, wash the right first. Okay, but my wudu, is it correct now or? It's not correct? You asked, I started this session by mentioning the pillars. Is this one of the pillars of the wudu? Washing the right first? So I started this session and asked the brother to mention the pillars of wudu. So he mentioned the pillars of wudu. So the pillars of wudu, if we remove one of the pillars, then the wudu is invalid. But here, washing the left first, is this of the pillars? The pillars, he mentioned them. So it's not a pillar. So if it's not a pillar, it's sunnah. It's a sunnah to wash your right before your left. It's the sunnah. So if a person left a sunnah, is his wudu valid or invalid? Valid. Yes, this is the whole point. For you to differentiate what is sunnah and what is pillar. Okay? You might be saying, why Shaykh? We always follow the sunnah. Yes, you always follow the sunnah. But if mistakes happen, we want to know when is this wudu valid or invalid. Because if the wudu is invalid, your prayer is invalid. If the wudu is invalid, prayer is invalid. Like for example, if a person, let's say regarding order, if he washed he washed his face, and then he wiped his head, and then he washed his hands. So here the order is wrong. And then he washed his feet, and khalas, he went and prayed. If we say that the order of the limbs is a pillar, then this wudu is invalid. The wudu is invalid, his prayer is invalid. He has to repeat the wudu, and he has to repeat the wudu and the prayer. Do you understand? When we said the order is important, so if a person washed his face, then his head, and then his hands, so here he did not follow the order of the verse, right? You understand? So, and then he washed his feet, khalas. So he said, khalas, I washed all the limbs. So the order here, he did not follow the order based on the opinion that we have chosen. So his wudu will be invalid and his prayer will be invalid. طيب. Now, what is wudu needed for? No, what do we need wudu for? What are the actions that require wudu? You mentioned 3, yes. Reading the Quran? Holding the mushaf. Yes, reading the Quran, wudu is not required. It's mustahab, yes, but required, no. Required for holding the mushaf, yes. Required for holding the mushaf, you should be on wudu. This is the opinion of the 4 imams. 4 imams. The dispute here, it's better to follow this opinion. Holding the mushaf on wudu. طيب. What else? Tawaf and prayer, because both of them the same text. Prayer, we know that. Okay, wudu is a condition of prayer. طيب, what about tawaf? Anyone here going Hajj? You're going Hajj? MashaAllah, barakallah. MashaAllah, barakallah. طيب. So you have to come back. Inshallah. Inshallah. طيب. So I said, طيب. So wudu, we know this, but tawaf is a disputed matter. The Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "At-tawafu bil-bayti salah." At-tawafu bil-bayti salah. So tawaf around the house is considered a prayer. So scholars said, if the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said tawaf around the house is considered a prayer, so it is like a prayer, and the prayer requires wudu, purification. So also tawaf requires a purification. طيب, this is the opinion of all the fuqaha except the Hanafi madhab. طيب, so this matter, having wudu before tawaf, it's the opinion of the majority except the Hanafi madhab. Based on this text. طيب. طيب. What is it preferred for? So we said here, it's an obligation to do wudu, or it's a condition to do wudu for a valid prayer, a valid tawaf, and it's an obligation to do it when touching the mushaf. طيب, it's preferred to do wudu for what? If you pray, for example, Maghrib on wudu, and then you pray Isha, can you pray Isha on the same wudu that you prayed Maghrib? Or do you have to renew it? You don't have to. طيب, if you did, is it sunnah? Yes, renewing wudu is a sunnah. Renewing wudu is a sunnah. طيب, of the sunnahs also is, yes?
I think like always being in a state of wudu in general is a sunnah as well.
They said yes, always staying in sunnah, always staying in the state of purity. They said that this is something that should be done. It's a sunnah. It's a sunnah. طيب, maintaining purity at all times, it's sunnah. طيب, a person who is junub. طيب, a person who is junub, we say it is also preferred for him to perform wudu. So for example, he's on janaba. It's best if a person is in a state of janaba that he removes the state of janaba. This is the best thing to do as soon as possible. You do not wait. But let's say that he wanted to sleep. Junub's state of major ritual impurity. We'll talk about this in detail, inshallah, later. So a person in janaba, he wants, for example, to sleep. Can he sleep and he's too tired? Say, I'll do ghusl in the morning. It's okay, but it's preferred to do wudu before sleeping. Wudu won't raise the janaba, but it will lessen it. طيب, it will make it better. This is the sunnah of the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was asked, أَيَنَامُ أَحَدُنَا وَهُوَ جُنُوب? The Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, نَعَمْ إِذَا تَوَضَّأَ. So he performs wudu and he sleeps. Inshallah, this is okay. And we spoke about wiping over footwear. What did we see as a condition of wiping over footwear? And can we wipe over any footwear? This is the most important thing, that it covers the whole foot, including the ankle. Including the ankle. So if somebody brings, for example, a socks that does not cover the ankle, here, if he wore it on a complete purification, then he went to the toilet, can he wipe over it? No. It has to cover the whole foot, including the ankle, the whole, the place of wudu, so includes the ankle. طيب. What if it was, he wore socks that covers the ankles, but he remembered that he was not on tahara when he wore them. He remembered that he was not on tahara. So he remembered that he went to the toilet, he wore them, and then he performed wudu. But it doesn't work because he has to wash his feet. So here, can he wipe over his feet? Can he wipe over his feet? No. Why? No, sorry, can he wipe? Okay, can he wipe over the socks? Same thing. Why? Yes, because he did not wear his socks in a state of purity. For a condition for you to wipe over your socks, you have to wear them in a state of complete purity with water. So you wake up in the morning, for example, you do your wudu, and then you wear socks. Then you come to the masjid. طيب. You prayed Fajr, and then you go home, you went to work. And then for Dhuhr time, you still have your socks. You went to the toilet, then you came out. And then you went to do wudu, and then when you went to your feet, you said, I don't need to wash. I already wore them on a complete purity, so you wipe. You wipe over them. طيب. You wipe over your socks. طيب. Your purity here is valid. So this is what wiping on socks. طيب. Does it need to be does a person need to be does he need to wear the socks, or he just wore the socks to make it easy, for example? To make, he said that every time I go to the toilet and wash my feet, it's going to take time. Let me wear my socks. I do wudu, wear my socks, so that when I have to do purity again, I can just wipe over them. Is this okay? No problem. Yes, no problem. Whether it's hot, whether it's cold, whether he needed to wear the socks or not, wearing the socks, alhamdulillah, this is a concession. A person can wipe over his socks if he wore them over a complete purity. طيب. What is the duration of the wipe? Yes, 24 hours for a person who's a resident, 72 for a person who is traveling. صح? طيب. طيب. So now we want to know what will happen if you remove your socks. So let's say you performed wudu, you wore your socks, you prayed, and then you went to the toilet, and then you made wudu and you wiped over your socks. Now you're pure. You pray the prayer. Wait, I still didn't ask the question. Then, طيب, at Asr time after prayer, you removed your socks. You removed one sock. طيب. Now, is your purity still intact, or is it invalidated? Invalidated, yes. Yes, there is definitely, look, these matters are matters of khilaf. So you'll find some scholars, our scholars, who will say that, for example, removing footwear, it does not invalidate your wudu, because there is no evidence. You'll find this. But these matters, a person should choose the safer opinion, because there's no clear text. We don't have a clear text in this matter. The four imams said that the removal of footwear will invalidate your wudu, because the purity was done on this footwear. And now you remove this footwear. And this foot was not clean, that was not washed. The wiping was done over the footwear, and then it was removed. So they said this invalidates your wudu. So if you remove your socks, this invalidates your wudu. If this invalidates your purity, if this purity was made by wiping over the socks. Okay? So I'll give you an example. Let's see if you understood well or not. We have two people, Ahmed and Khalid. Ahmed made complete wudu, then wore his socks. Khalid, he wore his socks after complete wudu, but then he went to the toilet, and then he came out. he did wudu and then he wiped over his socks. Now both of them, after prayer, they removed their socks, both of them. Is Ahmad still in a state of purity or not? What do you think? He said Ahmad is valid, Khalid is invalid. Why? Because they have different nationalities? Why? Who knows? Who knows?
He didn't, Ahmed did not go to the toilet or anything to invalidate his wudu.
Okay, but he removed his socks.
But he didn't need to wipe. He didn't wipe.
Aywa. So it's not any removal of socks invalidates the wudu. See, this is what I want you to understand. Yani when I say removal of socks, yes, if the purity was done on the socks, and then you remove the socks, yes, purity is invalidated. Okay, but a person who just sits, for example, he just heard these words, so anyone who removes socks, wudu invalid. Nobody says this. You have to differentiate, huh? So if a person did his purity on the socks, then he removed the socks, yes, his wudu is invalidated. But if the wudu was done normally and he didn't wipe over socks, he removed the socks, the wudu stays there, no problem. طيب. The other matter is the expiry of the duration. So we said, for example, a person who's resident 24 hours. 24 hours. So let's say 3 p.m. you wiped over your socks. The first wipe was 3 p.m. Next day, طيب, you wiped at 2:30 p.m. You wiped. The wudu will stay for you. The wudu is valid until 3 p.m. 3 p.m. the wiping duration expires. It will be as if you have removed your socks. So you have to remove it and do a complete wudu. You have to remove it and do a complete wudu. Very, very important. Again, this is another matter that some scholars will say this does not invalidate the wudu. But again, take the safer opinion, that it does invalidate. Because, if you have a big dispute like this, if you did what the 4 imams said, your prayer will be valid in all opinions. But if you did the other opinion, your prayer will be invalid in all 4 imams' opinions. It's a very dangerous place. You don't want to be in that position. All 4 imams invalidate your prayer. So sometimes, especially in these matters that have no text, we don't have a clear text from the Messenger Muhammad ﷺ or a clear verse, we don't. All 4 imams, they understood this matter. So here we have to be careful. We have to be careful. And then something else, not any matter of khilaf. So there's a khilaf among the scholars, that means yallah, choose whatever you want. No, it's not like this. Some people think as long as there's khilaf, I can choose whatever I want. So you'll find in this matter, wallah, which is easier? We say, which is easier? Hanafi, I'll choose Hanafi. Here, which is easier? Let me, don't tell me whose opinion, just tell me which is easiest, I'll choose this. You'll come up with a new worship, a new religion. If you do this, you'll come up with a new religion by yourself. That's why, your obligation is to ask those people of knowledge. طيب, فاسألوا أهل الذكر. And you ask the people of the specialists in knowledge. You ask them. طيب, and you study. Alhamdulillah, you studied one madhab, you understand, you studied something, you apply it. You don't go and search for any opinion and then you choose. Especially now you go on the internet, you find, okay, but I found this opinion. He says this opinion. He doesn't even understand where it came from. I found this opinion. Can I use this? He doesn't understand where does this opinion come from. And number 2, he doesn't understand if this opinion applies to him or not. Yes? So this is another matter. طيب. Another thing that invalidates wiping over footwear is anything that requires ghusl. Anything that requires ghusl. And what are the things that require ghusl? We'll have a section, inshallah, we'll be talking about them. طيب. So if a person used the toilet, we mentioned this, urinating, defecating, all these things, this does not invalidate wiping over the socks. If you sleep, if you slept, and then you woke up, you have to remove the socks or no? Can you still do wudu and wipe over them? Now raise your hands. Everyone, blah, 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 blah. Yes? You can still do. Who says you can still wipe over your socks? You didn't ask me 24 hours or not. How many hours do you sleep, Sheikh? Sure, Sheikh, 24 hours sleeping? No, I'm saying the duration. Yeah, I said 3 p.m. just now. Maybe some people 3 p.m. they're asleep, Sheikh. That's 3 p.m. طيب. So yes, if the duration did not expire, if a person slept, he can still keep his socks, no problem. He can still wipe over the socks. Understood? So here now it's simple, but for example, if you go to the airport, you see people, you'll see many things people do wrong. They say, no, it's haram to wipe over the socks. Ignorance. So if you know your religion, at least you know you're safe. You know that, alhamdulillah, I'm following something according to the Quran and Sunnah, and this is what the scholars say. So you'll be confident, you'll be happy, you'll worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with knowledge. Instead of worshipping Him because I heard someone say like this, and I heard someone say like this. You can't build your worship on I heard someone say. You build your worship, with knowledge, or knowledge. طيب. Now we want to cover something very important. We discussed wiping over footwear. Now we want to discuss something very important that we all need, which is wiping over bandages. Wiping over bandages. طيب. In this masjid, I remember it was, I think, subhanAllah, I was teaching also Tahara. So this was before Corona. And there was one person in the toilet. He had cast on his foot, and the toes had no cast. So the cast was only on the foot. And he wanted to do wudu. He was doing wudu. He didn't know what to do. So he was doing wudu. He said, he just left the foot. So I said, you should wipe over the foot. And you should wash the part that is uncovered. So these things we all need. Sometimes we have bandage. And you go to the hospital, many people, subhanAllah, when you visit someone who's sick, they have bandages or they have even burns, for example. Allah protects the Muslims. They have burns and they say, I cannot apply water, so what do I do now? Do I leave wudu? So it's important to understand these rulings. Many people need this. Especially if somebody did surgery, he has a big bandage, for example, on a big part of his body, and the doctor says you have to keep it. How do I do wudu? Last week I think somebody asked me this question, subhanAllah. His father had undergone surgery and he was bleeding continuously and he had bandages, so what to do? So it's important to understand, what to do in these situations. طيب. Praying with the Imam? Question out of nowhere, yes. Praying with the Imam, for a man like yourself, praying with the Imam. For your mother and sister, praying at home. Okay? So all following the Sunnah. Yes, they're both following the Sunnah. If we're talking about men and women, men, you pray behind the Imam. Your sister, your mother, she prays at home, inshallah. This is her obligation. Jazakallah khair. طيب. So here, when is it allowed to wipe over bandages? If there was a need for the bandage to be there in the first place. First of all, what's the ruling? The ruling is, if there's a bandage on a body part that you want to perform wudu, and you cannot wash, of course you cannot remove this bandage, you may wipe over the bandage. You may wipe over the bandage. When do we do this? If the bandage was needed, if you remove this bandage, this will cause you harm. What does it mean it will cause you harm? It will either delay cure or it will increase, your illness. It will delay your cure or it will increase your illness. For example, there's a big wound, and you applied this bandage with medicine, and the doctor said keep it for 3 days, at least 3 days, until it heals. So here, if you said no, but I want to worship, I want to do tahara, the doctor said keep it. So here, what do? You keep it. How will you do your wudu? You wash what you're able to wash. So the body part that is not covered, you wash normally, just like wudu, normal wudu. The area that is covered by a bandage, you just wet your hand and you wipe over it. Now, given that this is an area of wudu. So for example, if the bandage was here on your hand, is this an area of wudu? Yes, طيب. So here when you do wudu, you wash everything that is not covered by the bandage. The bandage, you just wet your hand and you just wipe over it. You just wipe over it once. Wiping is always once. You just wipe over it once. That's it. طيب. What if your bandage was on your shoulder all the way to here? So on your shoulder all the way to here. What do you need to wipe?
Your rest of your arm.
Yes, only the part that you're required to wash. Here you don't need to wipe this. طيب. طيب. So if there's a need for the bandage or cast, yani removal will cause harm, then you keep it and you wipe over it. طيب. Now, what if it was a cast? Someone broke his hand, for example, and he's walking like this. He has cast on his hand. And his fingers, he applied the same thing. His fingers are uncovered. طيب. So what does he do?
He just washes his hands.
But he washes the part that he needs. He wants to wash his right hand. He cannot wash the cast. You cannot put water directly on the cast. So what do you do?
You wipe it.
Huh?
You wipe over it.
طيب. Who else? If he only understands, who knows? Everyone is looking. Yes.
You can wipe
Other than this row. Yes, you wipe. I'm saying everywhere because you, mashallah, you're paying attention. You're getting everything right. طيب. طيب. You wipe. You make sure that you wipe it completely. And you don't leave the part that is covered, the part of wudu, you wipe it completely. You don't keep anything. Not like wiping on socks. Wiping on socks, we just wipe on the top. Okay, what is in the back and the bottom, you do not wipe. Here, area of wudu, just let me finish. Area of wudu, if there's a cast on it, you have to wipe the area of wudu completely. Completely. طيب. The area that is not covered, this you wash. This you wash. Yes.
Is wiping a bandage like wiping the socks?
I just said this now. I said there's a difference. Wiping on the socks, you don't wipe the whole socks. You just wipe the top part of the socks. Wiping on the bandage, if it covers an area of wudu, you have to encompass it all with wiping. طيب? Understand? Okay. طيب. What if a person is unable to wash and he's unable to wipe? Might we say, when is this situation? If, for example, as we said, in burns, if a person has a burn, may Allah protect us and preserve you, preserve us all. If a person had a wound from a burn, burns, they don't cover. They don't cover burns. And they just apply medicine on it. They say, don't touch it. This is not even, you cannot even wipe it. They say, do not touch it. Because in bandages, we said, you cover, you wipe the whole, but you hold the whole body part. Here now you have a wound. The doctor says don't touch because it will delay. It will make it even worse. You might cause an infection. Don't touch it. In this case, what do you do? Don't touch it. Follow the doctor. Okay. Yes. Okay. We don't touch it. The rest of the body, okay, we do the wudu normally. The area that should be the area that we are unable to wash and we're unable to wipe. Here, scholars said. The closest thing here is after finishing your wudu. So this area that has a wound on it, a burn, you do not touch it. And you continue washing the rest of the body parts. Now, once you finish, scholars said, to do tayammum. To do tayammum, to complete your purity. Because there's a part that was not washed and it was not wiped. So they said, you do tayammum for this. What does it mean to do tayammum for this? It doesn't mean to do tayammum and you wipe. This is the whole point, we don't wipe. What do? You do normal tayammum. You do normal tayammum. The details of tayammum, we'll be mentioning them, which is one strike. Somebody asked me, how do you do tayammum? You put your hands on surface of the ground, which is something of the ground, a natural rock, some soil, some sand, anything. Put your both hands on it, okay? Then you wipe your hands and you wipe your face. طيب? Wipe your hands or you wipe your face. طيب. Okay, this is what tayammum is, and the details of tayammum, inshallah, we'll be covering it. طيب. Now we'll cover the invalidators of wudu. The invalidators of wudu. طيب. What are the invalidators of wudu? Of course, going to the toilet. So whatever leaves the two outlets, this is an invalidator of wudu. What else? Sleeping. Okay, sleeping. Let's talk about sleeping. Sometimes we have, if a person, sometimes he dozes off. I was giving a lecture once. I'm not joking. I was giving a lecture in one of the centers. And it was, kids, apparently they were there from 4 p.m. They stayed until 9. I was giving my talk at 9. So in the first row, they're like this. You tell, I don't know, he's asleep. They cannot move. They're just closing their eyes. So here, but I call them, they open. So they can listen, but when you look at them, it seems that they have lost consciousness. So what invalidates wudu? A light sleep or heavy sleeping, and how do you know the difference? They said, some scholars said, if a person is aware of his surroundings, so this person is still not sleeping. And he's about to sleep, but he's not sleeping. And if he has a pen, for example, in his hand, and he's dozing off, once the pen falls, he'll be awake. Because this person did not sleep. And some narrations, they mentioned that the companions used to wait for Isha prayer, and they doze off. They did not sleep. They were just closing their eyes, and they still did not lose consciousness. So they're still awake. So this type of sleep does not invalidate your wudu. This type of sleep does not invalidate your wudu. Even if a person was lying down, but he's not sleeping. He's like, I'm here, Sheikh. He's not sleeping. He's closing his eyes. So it means that this does not invalidate your wudu. طيب, what if a person loses consciousness? He wakes, he does not know anything around him, and this is the type of sleep that invalidates your wudu. Once you lose consciousness, you are unaware of anything around you. You are unaware of it. Yeah, you can't, خلاص. You say even if somebody calls you, خلاص, you've lost consciousness. This is what breaks the wudu. Snoring is a sign that a person, no, wallahi, where is, I heard there was a person snoring, and I called, so he's awake. He does this sound. He's awake, and he listens, but I don't know how he snores. Yes, in the masjid, in our masjid, subhanAllah, maybe he's going to watch this video, I'm not going to say. I'm going to talk about him, he's going to watch the video, say, you're talking about me in the other masjid? Anyways, he finishes dhikr, okay, and then he stays, and then he snores. But I'm sure he's not asleep. But I hear snoring. Subhanallah. So again, snoring is not also a sign. But so how do we differentiate? If it's heavy sleeping, if he does not feel the surroundings, if he does not feel the things around him, then definitely it's heavy sleep. If he's still aware of his surroundings, this is light sleep. It does not invalidate your wudu. Yes?
The thing is indicated is that if he is resting on something, and if you remove it, and if he's still asleep, that means he's unconscious.
Yeah, they say if he falls down, يعني because if he's aware, he'll be like this. But here, normal people are awake. You just push them, you remove their hands, they'll fall. It's still. So this matter, not being, if you lose consciousness, so if you're not aware of your surroundings, if you reach this point, then you have validated your wudu. طيب. Eating camel meat. So here, this is again of the only madhab that says this is the Hanbali madhab. But we have a text. That the Messenger Muhammad ﷺ was asked, do we make wudu after eating lamb? He said, if you want to make wudu, you may, and if you don't want, don't perform wudu. And then the man said, do we perform wudu after eating camel meat? He said yes. So they said, the Messenger Muhammad ﷺ here clearly stated this, that eating camel meat here invalidates your wudu. The majority of scholars said, this is abrogated. The Messenger Muhammad ﷺ said, or some of the companions said, that the ruling of performing wudu from that which was cooked has been abrogated. So they understood that this is general on all texts. But since you guys are not going to be eating camel meat every day, if it happens that a local gives you camel meat, طيب, eat. The problem is when in Ramadan. You go for iftar, they give you tharid, it has camel meat. You eat, and then you're used to eating and then washing and going, but now you have to do wudu again. طيب. So definitely, if you eat camel meat, you're going to take the safer opinion, say, خلاص, camel meat once every, how long do I eat camel meat? Performing wudu to remove yourself from dispute is better. To pray, and you feel relieved that, alhamdulillah, I performed wudu properly and this. So camel meat, yes. We said that, based on the madhab, that it invalidates your wudu.
What happens if a person slept in prayer? Let's say tahajjud, sleep in the tahajjud.
But real sleep?
Just when you go for sujood and he slept.
And then he wakes up, then we say Allah Akbar, he wakes up?
Can you prayer?
Again, he sleeps in sujood. And then when we say Allah Akbar, he wakes up again? And then he gives Allah Akbar, he sleeps again? Or then they stand up, he's still sleeping. He's still in sujood, yani.
For example, he went to sujood.
Okay.
He slept, let's say tahajjud, maybe for 10 minutes.
They're standing up, he's still in sujood, sleeping.
Sleeping 10 minutes.
لا خلاص, yes. He redoes his purity, and then his prayer, خلاص. خلاص, he's asleep. He's asleep. He said, do I leave him asleep until we finish prayer? Did he leave him asleep or?
So he need to leave it.
The Imam will say, Assalamu alaikum, he's still asleep, miskin. I know. At home. I thought you're talking about Ramadan. Yes, at home. Yes, he has to, of course, he has to go do wudu again and to pray again, definitely, yes. طيب. Touching your sex organs, this also invalidates your wudu. No.
I wanted to ask, what about camel milk?
Camel milk doesn't have the same ruling. It's camel meat. Camel milk does not have the same ruling as eating camel meat. Okay? So, touching your sex organs, this invalidates your wudu. And number 5, of course, anything that requires major purification, which is ghusl, also invalidates. طبعا. Let's mention things that do not invalidate. So, real quick, the things that invalidate are what leaves, yes. I'm going to mention this now. Subhanallah. Yes.
We drink camel milk and do the wudu with this.
If you eat camel meat and then you perform wudu, no, خلاص. So you eat camel meat, then you perform wudu, خلاص, your wudu is good. Yes. Yeah, okay. Here, no, it does not invalidate. By itself, it does not invalidate. Yes, Shafi'i madhab only. Yes. Shafi'i madhab, أو لامستم النساء. They used the verse. أو لامستم النساء. But they said, so they said لامستم النساء. But here, see this example. Ibn Abbas said لامستم النساء. لامستم, they said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the word لامستم. لامستم, if you look at it, apparently it means touching. But the verse does not mean touching. As Ibn Abbas said, Allah Azza wa Jal used this word to mean something else, which is intercourse. طيب. And then also the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, sometimes he might hug or kiss some of his wives before going to prayer. Just like, for example, you hug, or for example, your son or your daughter, then you go to prayer. Sometimes he might do this with his wife and go to prayer. So they said this did not invalidate. He'd go to prayer directly. So this is why they said this does not invalidate your wudu. Yes.
If we do wudu and we hug our mom, is it okay to?
It's good. It's great. You get reward from Allah because you show your mom that you love her and you're being dutiful towards your parents. So when you hug her, tell her the Sheikh said, but don't say the Sheikh said do wudu then hug your mom. Then she'll say, what is this, Sheikh? Okay, but I'm saying you hug your mom, alhamdulillah, this is something great, you get reward for this. So no, it does not invalidate your wudu. See, causing confusion now? طيب. Things that do not invalidate your wudu. Of these things is, for example, vomiting. If a person vomits, does this invalidate his wudu? Does not invalidate. Even intentionally, yes, does not invalidate your wudu. If intentionally it invalidates something else, what is it? Fasting, yes. Intentionally it invalidates fasting. But wudu does not invalidate your wudu. طيب, bleeding. Does bleeding invalidate your wudu? See, your brother says no. Yes.
I believe like the large amounts it does if it's like a
The bleeding, there's no evidence. It's not based on what we think. Bleeding does not in itself, it does not invalidate wudu. Look, blood being najasa, it's something else. Wudu being invalidated is something else. Blood being najis, impure, this is one matter. So for example, you have a shirt and you had a wound and it bled and it's a considerable amount. Yeah, let's remove the dispute. It's not something pardoned, it's a considerable amount. I'll tell you, go change your shirt before going to prayer. But is my wudu still intact? Yes. The bleeding in itself does not invalidate your wudu. Understand? The only thing is if bleeding, so for example blood, if it comes out of the two outlets, yes, it invalidates your wudu. طيب? Yes. Yeah, this is hijama, does not invalidate your wudu. Yeah, it does not invalidate your wudu. Because same thing, it's yani removal of blood, this does not invalidate your wudu. Now, the matter that the brother was mentioning here, what about washing the dead or carrying him? Washing the dead or carrying him. طيب, here, does this invalidate your wudu? Huh? Why? Why? You mean, you remember, I'll tell you why. The messenger, you heard this hadith, the messenger Muhammad ﷺ said, من غسل الميت فليغتسل ومن حمله فليتوضأ. So the hadith says that whoever performs ghusl on a dead body has to perform ghusl. And whoever carries a dead man, okay, or a dead body has to perform wudu. This is the hadith. They said this is preferred. If you do this, this is preferred. They said this hadith does not mean that a person is required to do ghusl or is required to do wudu. طيب. So it is preferred. It is preferred. So it does not invalidate your wudu. طيب. Now I'll teach you something very important which many of us are struggling with, which is sometimes you have a doubt. Am I on wudu or am I not on wudu? So what do we do? So you went to pray, then you came back, then you sat, طيب, and then you sat, you just looked at your phone, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and then you said, I want to go pray sunnah. But you said, okay, am I on wudu or not? So if you doubt your condition, are you on wudu or not? What do you do? Huh? See, if you say, I'll just go do wudu just in case, this is not good. You know why? Because anytime you have a doubt, sometimes you just perform wudu. And then you say, but I have a doubt, should I go do wudu? And see, this is the trap of the shaitan. So, yes.
What I do is just, if I don't remember me breaking my wudu, I just assume like my wudu is broken.
Okay, what is best is, whoever doubts the state of purification should build on certainty. This is a general principle. You act, bana ala al-yaqeen. So you build on certainty. Now, you remember definitely I went to the toilet and then I came out of and I performed wudu because I came to the masjid. So definitely I did perform wudu. You are sure of wudu. But while going back home, you say, did I go to, because every time I saw my friend next to the toilet. Now I don't remember, did I go to the toilet or not? So what is certain here? Wudu or breaking the wudu, what is certain in this case? So you came to the masjid, okay, but you remember that you did salam to your friend next to the toilet. So you have a doubt, did I go to the toilet or not? So what is certain here? Yeah, you're certain that you did wudu. And Guys, please, answer, any answer. يعني, I don't want just this first row. Get me some hope. You don't have, okay, but I'm saying, no, I want you to think this way. You are certain of what? You are certain that you performed wudu, or you're certain that you went to the toilet? Yes, you're certain that you have done wudu. So this is certainty. This is your certainty. اليقين that أنا توضأت. خلاص, I performed wudu. This is certain. But you have a doubt that did I go to the toilet later or not? This is doubt. Now, if you're not sure, you build on certainty. You build on certainty. Okay, the other way around. You came out of the toilet. طيب. You're sure that you went to the toilet, but you're unsure. Did you do wudu? I'm sure that I went to the toilet, but I'm not sure. You think, you say the towel is dry. Did I do wudu or not? So what are you certain of? You're certain of hadath. You're certain that you went to the toilet. But you have a doubt, did you do wudu or not? So what is certainty here? Yeah, you're certain that you went to the toilet, but you have a doubt, did I perform wudu or not? So here if we say act on certainty, what do you have to do? You have to make wudu. This principle is extremely important. Because if we just say no, in any situation you go perform wudu, for some people this brings them waswas. Their whole life is uncertain. They say, I'm uncertain in many things. I'm uncertain in my prayer. I'm uncertain that I recite Fatiha. Get my point? Some people, if you open this door for them, خلاص, there's no end to it. طيب. Okay, since we finished this, we'll stop here. طيب. And inshallah, we will continue after Hajj. After Hajj, inshallah. So next week, we won't have a session. I don't know the week after. But after Hajj, inshallah. Because someone is going to Hajj. You're going to Hajj, yes? No, you did or you're going? طيب. I'm going to Hajj, inshallah. Inshallah. Ya Rab. So, if Allah wills, we'll continue after Hajj with the will of Allah. طيب. So revise. Don't say just because the Shaykh doesn't come, khalas. No, revise what you have covered. طيب. In the group, we've sent the notes, okay, document. You just go over it. Revise for yourself. طيب. Because this is knowledge that you have sat, you paid attention, you answered questions. خلاص. Go over it just to خلاص, establish this knowledge in your heart, because you're going to need it. This is knowledge to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you teach others, because many people don't know. They don't study, so you teach them. No, this is how to, this breaks your wudu, this does not break your wudu. You teach your families. If each one of us teaches his family, alhamdulillah, this is spreading knowledge. And then your family, they grow up, your children with this knowledge, you're rewarded for this. Whenever they apply this knowledge, you're rewarded for this. So take this knowledge for yourself and teach it to your family and gain reward. Islam is preserved with knowledge. Islam is not preserved with books. With knowledge, Islam is preserved. طيب. The Quran, if we have just books of the Quran, 10, 100,000 copies of the Quran, is Islam preserved? Islam preserved with the scholars who read the Quran, memorize the Quran, and understand the Quran. Even tafsirs, even books, just having books doesn't do anything. You have to have people who read these books and understand them and then teach it to others. If a person has a doubt, he doesn't go to a book, he goes to a scholar, he goes to a person who have studied. So these sessions are very rewarding. If you have the proper intention, because you can do, once you understand this, and then inshallah we cover prayer, this will open for you doors of good, answering the questions of the people, teaching the people, alhamdulillah, this is all doors of good. With this we will end, and we'll meet inshallah after Hajj. هذا والله أعلم وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. جزاكم الله خيرا.